In the wild world of the internet, stories are born, go viral, and die in the time it takes you to scroll your feed. For legends who have been famous for generations, their lives can get twisted by the rumor mill. And lately, the internet has decided it knows how the story of one of music's greatest icons ends. It's a story whispered in forums and shouted in headlines. A tale of quiet, sad decline. This is the story of Paul McCartney at 83. A story that, if you believed everything you saw online, is nothing short of tragic. The pictures are designed to be convincing, and for a lot of people, they are. They pop up on your screen, shared by some page with a generic name like Rock and Roll History. And there he is, Sir Paul McCartney, the man who wrote the soundtrack to our lives, looking frail in a hospital room. One photo shows him hugging his friend Phil Collins, a supposedly somber moment between two giants facing the end. Another shows him with a guitar, serenading his friend while a single tear rolls down Collins's cheek. The captions are written with a kind of poetic, devastating finality, talking about silent hospital halls and a final song between legends. The posts blow up, getting tens of thousands of shares from heartbroken fans. Then another story pops up, this one with a fake quote from McCartney himself, saying he has to cancel his tour due to ongoing health issues. The statement is crushing. "I simply cannot go on," it reads. The picture: Paul alone in a hospital bed. When you see this stuff, it's easy to believe. It feels like the sad, logical final chapter to a magnificent life. It seems like the world has decided Paul McCartney's story is over. But the story the internet is telling you, it's a complete lie. Because this is the real Paul McCartney at 83. And what he's actually doing is anything but tragic. Before we get to the vibrant, shocking truth of Paul McCartney's life today, we have to pull apart the lie. Because this isn't the first time the world has tried to write him off. The most famous example, of course, is the Paul is dead conspiracy that exploded in the late 60s. The rumor claimed McCartney died in a car crash in 1966 and was secretly replaced by a look-alike. Fans turned into detectives, searching for clues on album covers and in backward recordings. It was a viral sensation before there was an internet, forcing Paul to go on the cover of Life magazine just to prove he was still alive. He even made fun of it himself with his 1993 album. Paul is Live, playfully recreating the Abbey Road cover that started so many of the rumors. That was over 50 years ago. But now, the urge to bury Paul McCartney is back, and it's been supercharged by a new weapon: artificial intelligence. Those recent viral photos of Paul visiting Phil Collins, a classic case of modern-day fakery. Fact-checkers jumped in and pointed out the obvious tells. In the images, Paul, a famous lefty, is playing a right-handed guitar. A closer look shows the guitar only has 5 strings, a common mistake for AI image generators. The whole story, the hospital, the tearful serenade, was completely made up by a social media page to rake in ad money. Even the part about his tour being canceled was a lie. A Facebook page posted a long, emotional, and totally fake statement about his failing health. It spread so fast that news outlets had to issue corrections confirming the tour was, in fact, still on dot. This is the ghost that haunts Paul McCartney at 83. It's a phantom built from algorithms and cheap deception. It paints a picture of a legend whose light is fading, but the picture is a fraud. And the reality of what Paul McCartney is actually doing is more powerful, more energetic, and way more inspiring than any of the lies. You know the classic story of the aging rock star, right? They retreat from the spotlight, do a few nostalgic interviews, and slowly fade away from the explosive energy that once defined them. That's the box the internet has tried to put Paul McCartney in. The myth they're selling is that he can no longer handle the demands of touring, that his body has finally given up on his passion. The fake tour cancellation was the perfect weapon for this myth. It used language of regret and defeat, painting a picture of a man beaten by time. It plays on our own fears about getting older, suggesting that not even a Beatle can escape it. The story implies the stage is too big, the lights are too bright, and a world tour is just too much for a man of 83. It suggests his days of holding a stadium full of people in the palm of his hand were over. This myth is so powerful because it feels believable. We hear the number 83 and we think of weakness. We think of decades of rock and roll and assume there must be burnout. Old debunked rumors like a supposed secret heart surgery in 2008 get dragged up to make the new lies seem more credible. Back then, he had to publicly announce he'd passed his medical exams with flying colors, just to shut the story down. The myth makers also twist his real moments of vulnerability. When Paul has talked openly about his struggles, like the period of heavy drinking after the Beatles broke up, those moments of honesty are reframed. He once admitted he took 2 booze to cope, but in the warped world of fake news, that past struggle is presented as a current weakness, adding another fake layer to the narrative of a man in decline. The AI photos, the fake announcements, the old rumors, they all blend together to create one big myth. Paul McCartney's life is now sad. It's a story made to make you feel a little pity and a little nostalgia for what he used to be, but it's a total fiction. And the proof isn't hidden in some secret message. It's happening right now, out in the open, under the roar of tens of thousands of screaming fans, while the internet was sharing fake photos of Paul in a hospital bed. The real Paul McCartney was getting ready for something that would exhaust artists a third of his age, a massive multi-country stadium tour. The myth of his frailty doesn't just fall apart when faced with the truth. It gets blown to pieces by a wall of sound in a schedule that is absolutely relentless. This is the Got Back Tour 2025 edition. And it's not just a few shows in one place. After selling out stadiums across Australia, Mexico, Brazil, and Europe in 2023 and 2024, the tour is making its triumphant return to North America. For its first major run there since 2022, the schedule is insane. It kicks off on September 29th in Palm Desert, California, and then storms across the US and Canada for 2 straight months. We're talking 19 shows from coast to coast: Las Vegas, Denver, New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago. And he's not just playing the big cities he always plays. This tour includes his first ever concerts in places like Albuquerque, New Mexico, showing he's still hungry to connect with new audiences after 60 years in the business. And these aren't small clubs. He's playing Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, Coors Field in Denver, and the United Center in Chicago for a 2-night finale. To say this is ambitious for an 83-year-old is a massive understatement. This is the schedule of a musician in their absolute prime. It's not just the schedule, it's the show itself. A Paul McCartney concert isn't some quiet acoustic set. It's a 3-hour marathon, a full-blown spectacle, night after night. Paul and his band, a group he's been with for over 20 years, play a set list of around 37 songs. Let that sink in. Not 15 or 20, 30-7. The show kicks off with the raw energy of Can't Buy Me Love, then dives straight into the gritty rock of Wings Jr.'s Farm. It's a journey through music history, from beloved Beatles hits like Let It Be and Getting Better to the thunderous power of Wings anthems like Band on the Run. And then there's Live and Let Die, which turns the whole stadium into a war zone of fire and explosions. So huge you can feel them in your chest. He still belts out the throat shredding, rock of Helter Skelter, and leads 50,000 people in a massive sing-along to Hey Jude. The encore alone often includes the entire epic Abbey Road medley. He does all this while switching between his famous Hafner bass, electric guitar, and grand piano. He tells stories, jokes with the crowd, and sings for nearly 3 hours straight. This is not the performance of a man who is sad or frail. This is a musical Superman. The myth says he's in a hospital. The reality is he's on stage, blowing the roof off a stadium. If the Got Back Tour was the only thing Paul McCartney was doing, it would be enough to destroy the myth of his decline. But the wild truth is, his nonstop touring is just one part of a life that is still overflowing with creativity. He hasn't retreated into the past. It's constantly moving forward, proving that for him, making music is as natural as breathing. His creative spirit isn't just about his own work, it's about connection. For Dolly Parton's recent Rockstar album, she knew she had to have the real deal. Paul joined her along with Ringo Starr for a new recording of Let It Be. It was a beautiful moment, bridging country and rock with two Beatles on one of their most iconic songs. And then there was the project that felt like a miracle. Using AI technology developed by director Peter Jackson, he was able to isolate John Lennon's voice from an old demo tape. The result was Now and Then, a track billed as the last ever Beatles song. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a deeply emotional project that allowed him to collaborate with his old friend one last time, topping charts around the world decades after the band broke up. Beyond music, he's still exploring other art forms. His photography book, Asterisk, 1964. Eyes of the Storm Asterisk released to critical acclaim, showcasing his own intimate photos from the height of Beatlemania. The book turned into a gallery exhibition, giving the public a whole new perspective on a story we thought we all knew. The myth paints him as a recluse, locked away with his memories. The reality is a man who is still deeply, actively, and joyfully creating. He's not just living off his legacy. He's adding incredible new chapters to it. So the big question is, how? How does an 83-year-old man not only keep up this pace, but seem to get stronger? It's not a magic pill. It's a disciplined lifestyle he's built over decades to fuel his body and mind. It all starts with his physical health. The foundation is his diet. Paul has been a dedicated vegetarian since the 1970s, a choice he and his late wife Linda made together. For nearly 50 years, he's been a champion for plant-based living, and he credits it for his high energy levels. But you don't get through a 3-hour show on diet alone. His workout routine is just as serious as his songwriting. He's detailed it himself. A mix of foam rolling, stretching, cardio on a cross trainer, and some running. He doesn't have a trainer yelling at him. He just watches what they do and builds his own routine. And then there's his secret claim to fame, the headstand. He learned the yoga move back in the 60s and still does one at the end of every workout. His logic is simple. I need flexibility, not strength. He loves telling the story of being in a gym with huge weightlifters who watch him do a headstand and then come over to say, "That was pretty impressive, man." Even does yoga, a set of exercises he learned in India that he swears has kept him from needing glasses. This physical discipline is paired with a sharp focus on his mental and creative health. He's practiced transcendental meditation every day for over 50 years, a habit he picked up in India with the Beatles. In 1968, he says it keeps him calm and centered, and he doesn't just wait for inspiration to strike. He treats songwriting like a job. It's a discipline he learned with John Lennon. They had a rule to finish a song every time they sat down together. He still does it today, often getting ideas while taking quiet walks in the countryside. He's not waiting for a lightning bolt. He's building the storm every single day. This mix of a clean diet, a unique workout, and a disciplined creative mind is the engine that drives him. It's the reason the sad old man in the fake photos is a lie. And the joyful, energetic man on the world's biggest stages is the stunning reality. It's an incredible story of defying expectations at every turn. The world sees the number 83 and expects an ending, but Paul McCartney just keeps writing new beginnings. What do you think is the most surprising part of his life today? Is it the 3-hour concerts, the daily headstands, or the fact that he's still topping the charts? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories that uncover the truth behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. So that story the internet tried to sell you, the one about Paul McCartney being sad and frail, it's not just wrong. It's the complete opposite of the truth. The story of his decline is a ghost, a digital phantom cooked up by liars. The real story isn't a grainy, fake photo of a man in a hospital. The real story is a man on a stage in Las Vegas or Denver, leading 50,000 people in a chorus of Hey Jude. The whispers of a canceled tour were a lie. The truth is a 19-date North American tour that proves his superhuman stamina. The narrative of frailty is a myth. The reality is a man who ends his workout with a headstand and is powered by a half-century of vegetarianism and daily meditation. He's not fading away. He's collaborating with his peers, releasing new Beatles music that tops the charts, and showing his own art to the world. The world might be obsessed with endings, but Paul McCartney is a powerful reminder that a life lived with passion doesn't have an expiration date. He's not a relic to be mourned. He's a living, breathing, rocking force of nature. The story of Paul McCartney at 83 isn't sad. It's a masterclass in how to live.